I am really excited and honored to be introducing my good friend, Sonny Mayugba. So I met Sonny earlier this year. So even though we've known each other for what, less than 6 months, it feels like we've known each other our whole lives, right, Sonny? So a good story of how we met. So Sonny actually came out of Jason Calacanis's launch accelerator, batch one, had this incredible journey of building a startup, from building it to trying to grow it to almost dying, actually, multiple times, almost running out of cash, and then doing whatever he could to stay alive and get to the other side. And fast forward, and I'll let Sonny share his story, but he ended up taking his company public on the NASDAQ in 2018. So he was back, I believe, launch batch 17, sharing his story. And I was there as an investor judge. Sonny came up to me afterwards and struck up a conversation, and the rest, as you will say, is history. Sonny got a chance to work with some of our portfolio. We then invited him in to become entrepreneur in residence at Spero Ventures. And now he's working with one of our portfolio companies as COO of Core. So you want to track this on because Sonny sprinkles some magic fairy dust wherever he goes. He's a serial entrepreneur. So on his journey to success, he has started a skateboarding and snowboarding magazine. He has started a social network. He has opened restaurants. He has done some real estate. He probably has done, he started a garage band. Super interesting guy. And let's see, what other hobbies do you have? You're a table tennis pro or champion. You love music. You love skateboarding, food.
We'll work for food.
Oh yeah, you're a foodie. You own some restaurants. So anyways, I could go on and on, but you're going to be blown away by Sonny. And so it's my honor, Sonny, to have you share your talk today with the group on Think Like a CMO. So take it away.
Thank you so very much, Ha. I'm blushing and gushing inside in ways you guys can't see. But I'm so honored and happy to be here. And I appreciate such an amazing introduction like that, Ha. As you know, working with you and the Spero team is a big joy of my life. And so happy to be here. And everybody, welcome to Founder Summit. For you West Coasters, hope you're full of lunch and chilling, having a little iced coffee. For the East Coasters, you're coming up on happy hour, hang in there for another couple hours. It's been an amazing almost 2 days now of Founder Summit. And really the driving force has been Ha Nguyen, who has really led us as the captain of the pirate ship. I'm merely a scallywag on the deck doing whatever she tells me to do. It's working out okay. So for today's talk, I'm going to give you very actionable, clear steps on how to think like a chief marketing officer and organize a marketing team that gets results. That's sort of the key of this talk. You're going to get steps that I've learned over my long old career of doing this and working with others. It's never one person, it's doing it with others that I think are really helpful. It's not the ultimate comprehensive list, but it's a decent sized list, and it's going to get you your wheels turning. And so then we're going to open it up for discussion, questions about driving growth at your companies. So I'm going to go through this monologue, but like I said, we're going to open it up. We're going to be here to moderate questions, drop them in the Zoom chat, as many questions as you want. And yes, you can ask more than one question. That is fine. The moderators, Ha, Veronica, Stephen, and the team will choose those. We'll call on you. You get to ask your question live, and we can talk about you and your companies. So before I really dive into this list of things that are going to help you organize a marketing team that gets results, and what are results? Revenue. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. So this is important to me. I think everybody on this call, we have something in common, and it's we love building things. Like Ha described in the intro, I am a longtime founder and I've been building things my whole life. Hashtag never give up. And it looks like this. She touched on a bunch of these. She forgot my little screen printing company I started when I was 16. I've started all kinds of companies. I've been doing this like a hustler since I think I was just born to do it. And I like doing it. I like building things. And a very recent journey started out just like how every company starts out, napkin stage. I found this. This is really cool. This is my moleskin that I got at probably some YC conference, you know, when they give you free swag, you're so happy about. And I sketched an idea. You can see the bottom, 1, 2, 3. These are my app screens. Quick side note for anybody who's way early stage, this is your first product right here. Everybody thinks about what is my first product? This is it right here. Draw your product out and explain it to everyone who will listen. So I did that. Then I assembled my co-founders and we used Starbucks for free rent, like most of you should. Well, these days you have to stay home. Then we launched a product and we pivoted a bunch. And then we pivoted and merged again, built a company from 0 employees to 24,000 employees. And then that same company, we got to stand in New York on the platform at NASDAQ under Amazon, Intel's, Apple's, Cisco, and Tesla's logo and ring the bell with our icon right up there being traded publicly. It was pretty neat. And like I said, today I'm on a new mission with Core, which is the next level of meditation and mental wellness. So I'm joining Sarah and Brian and the team at Core to really bring people a heightened level of meditation and a device which is the only meditation device in the world that measures HRV. So more on that later. And with all the founder journeys I've embarked on, from the very beginning when I was, you know, in my teens to today, well past my teens, when it comes to getting customers, you guys are going to relate to this, it feels like this. It just feels like this. You're standing there, you're high on the mountain, and there's the big chasm, and you can see this big giant sign flashing that says, customers are here. Customers are here. How do we get over that? There's lots of different ways. And there's also sheer death if you don't make it across. So that's where I'm coming from. So this is all firsthand knowledge that I've learned over the years, and I put together 19 keys to organize and structure your marketing team to get you results. So let's go through this. So here's step one. Step one is make your dream org. Does this apply for companies of 2 people and companies of 500 people? Absolutely. What is a dream org? Well, it looks something a little bit like this. So here's one I built with my good friend, Jeff Belante, who also is joining us at Core, by the way, very exciting, is you make a dream org and you build boxes. This happens to be some leadership team in the middle with 4 pillars: brand, performance, insights, and local. And then you start filling boxes in with titles and functions that you think would be really awesome in the future for you. This is your dream marketing org. You can do it by color. You can build it by contractors versus new hires versus people who exist, if you've got an existing team, by discipline, by function. But you build out your org. If you build this out based upon what you believe the goals are of your company, and by goals, if you missed Rahul's talk this morning, he did a really amazing, outstanding job of outlining your goals, which is if I want to be a $1 billion company, I'm going to get a 10x valuation on my revenue. That means I have to be a $100 million company, which means I need 300,000 subscribers. That's a one sentence way to back into your goal. So the marketing folks out there and the growth folks can say, what functions do I need to help our company get to that goal? So build a dream org. Next, outline some big rocks. This is really important too. So you can call these strategic objectives. I put big rocks because it's just a nice, easy way to say it. But internally, I call them strategic objectives. These are things you're thinking about for a year to 18 months. You have little rocks, right? Little rocks are things like, what am I doing this month? What am I doing this quarter? Big rocks are things on where do we want to be? What metrics can we measure and move over the next, let's just say 18 months? So it can look like things like this. I want to increase order frequency from X to Y. The key to this tactic is you have to put in the measurement part. Increase first time order from X to Y. Time to first time order. So let's say someone comes to your website and the first time they purchase, it takes them 5 hours. Well, that's 5 is the X, and you want to get it to 3. 3 is the Y. Increase new app installs, could be new visitors, could be anything, but by X%. decrease CAC from X. If it costs you $100 to get a customer, do you want to get it to 60? Well, we know that's better. That's a strategic objective that takes a lot of different efforts across the board. So number 3, team. Look hard at your team and think about what everyone is doing. Do you have the right people in the right places? Do they understand the discipline that they're functioning in? Who are you missing? Meg Whitman said something really amazing yesterday. She said, look, hire for where you're going, which I thought was really brilliant advice. And it's hard to do sometimes. But think about your team. Do we have the right people on the bus, the right people on the bus in the right seats, doing the right things? 4, do a retreat. This is really powerful. I know it sounds kind of goofy and you're thinking, look, we're building software, we're building product, we're building hardware. I just need to keep working because every hour in the day I move my software project more forward. Sometimes you have to stop and strategize. It's really, really important. And look, I used to think this was all nonsense and silly, but I've realized that when you bring people together and you can stop just for half a day or 2 days and really get strategic, you can outline the objectives of a company and go attack those, like divide and conquer those. So what does it look like to run an effective retreat? Well, there's tons of articles, tons of books on this. Here's some of the things that I like. 1 is start with the outcome. What are we going to get out of this retreat? 2, do a get to know me. You're going to be shocked. Every time I do this with companies that have worked together for 4 years, we start with this and it turns out there's things about each other they don't know. You've got to bond personally and professionally in order to have trust and vulnerability, which is really powerful to set a tone for the retreat. Go a deep dive into channels, roles. What are we doing? What are our future objectives? What roles do we have filled? What roles do we need in order to accomplish, how we're going to get customers? Dig into the perceptions of your company. Every founder has a perception of their own company, but it's so important. This is why NPS is so important and product market fit exercises are so important. What are the perceptions of your company on the outside? Most importantly, what are your customers' perceptions of your company? That is where the gold lives. And then you really do a creative and strategic brain dump. These are just a few ideas. You're going to build your own marketing retreat. I just did one of these actually this Monday recently, and it was 5 hours. It felt like a long time, but we got so much great stuff out of it. This is one of my favorite parts of the retreat, the creative and strategic brain dump. And I'm going to give you this secret right now. Here's what it looks like. So we do these virtually now. It's crazy, but this is what they used to look like in person very recently. There's 5 pillars, I believe, that every marketing idea fits into. And by the way, here's a quick challenge for the over 200 people on this call. If you can think of a marketing idea that doesn't fit in one of these 5 pillars and it fits into some other 6 pillar, give it to me. I'll send you a $100 bill and buy you lunch. Okay. People, product, execution, media, measurement. Execution is the same as like activities, okay? Put those 5 words up, gather your team, get Post-it notes so the introverts can contribute, have collaboration so the extroverts and the collaborators can contribute, and just go on this and get every idea out of everybody's brain. And what you're going to discover is you're going to find your roadmap for marketing more than full with some of the best ideas ever. Of course, there's filtering processes after this, but this is a really great exercise for a marketing retreat to get the team aligned on what are the right projects to do to move this business forward. Number 5, you got to have structured meetings. So important. It's so easy to get going, have your company, working, not working, flywheel spinning, things are sludgy, whatever stage you're in, and forget that it's so important to have structured, effective meetings where you're breaking down people's to-dos, you're breaking down the objectives and rocks they're working on, you're looking at the results and the data that people have produced, and then you're making plans and adjusting plans for the future. So make sure you have structured meetings. What I like to do is I like to do these early in the week. I like to do them at the same time every time. I like to do mandatory attendance. I like to make sure we all show up and start on time and make sure we end on time, and a few other fun things. 6, marketing channel stack, internal and external. It's a little bit unique. So it's important to have a really clear stack when it comes to marketing on what channels is the team using and for what methods. So the obvious ones everyone uses is Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Okay, cool. That's owned channels. All channels fit into 3 categories for marketing. Owned channels, things you own and control. Earned channels, those are like PR and things people write about you. And paid channels, things you buy, like advertising and so on. So make sure this stack is in one place, very clearly defined, so everybody understands what channels we're using, mostly externally, right? But here's the interesting thing. It's very important for marketing teams to run the internal channel stack for early stage companies. When you get really, really big, you'll have that discipline somewhere else. But internal marketing and internal communication is one of the most important and powerful activities that an early stage company should employ to make sure that people in other divisions, heads down product, operations, customer service, which is on the phone all day or on chat all day, they understand what marketing is doing, what messaging is important, what tools we're using, and what's coming up. Very important. And this is kind of what that might look like. What the cycles look for each channel, what are we using? Do we use email? Do we use emails to talk to customers, employees, what social media, notifications, all those tools. And I'll bet you'll find you're probably leaving some low-hanging fruit on the table that could move the company forward. And then of course, a marketing roadmap. When you have all this information you've pulled out of your retreat, you've got a great channel stack, you understand the activities and the roles in the team, that's where you need to build a marketing roadmap. And one of the things I like to say is that marketing and engineering actually have a lot more in common than people think. Old school marketing, maybe not so much, but the old school's over, right? I like to pull things from the old school. People know I love guerrilla marketing. But when it comes to actually being effective in running an organization, it runs much closer to engineering. And why is that? Well, here's why. In engineering, there's so many different ways to accomplish similar things, to build an app or to build a product. There's lots of different ways, lots of different styles and languages and structures to do things. And marketing is the same thing. And what that means is there's just too many. So you have to make a bet and make a choice on your structure and your channels and your tactics. And you need to map those out so everybody knows what you're doing. And more importantly, knows what you're not doing. That's really critical. Can't do everything. And it might look something like this. I had to block out some of this, but you're looking at it by quarter. And if you're looking on the bottom here, and each quarter, what you're doing is you're taking all of your tactics, assigning it to people, assigning that to a corresponding metric that you think it's going to move for the company on a timeline. When's that due? And then tracking that tactic. That's the roadmap for marketing. It probably has a lot more things maybe than engineering in terms of like the number of things that can get accomplished in a quarter. But it's really important to have this marketing roadmap in addition to your channel stack and sort of your table stakes of your fundamental marketing tactics. So those are all pretty big lifts. And once you get them built, they just run, okay? You just got to nurture them. They're like a machine. But there's some things that are really important that are just silly, that are so just valuable. And so I had to put this in here. Login credentials. Please make a Google Doc or Google Sheet that is in one place that has all the login credentials for everything. The people that are out there laughing on mute right now, you're feeling me because you know that this is a problem. At so many companies, it's who has the login for Instagram? Oh, who's got the Apps Flyer login? Oh, is that one girl we hired who she left and moved to Canada? Oh yeah, can you get a hold of her? I don't know. Oh, it's her email. It's going to her email for authentication. Oh, put all your login credentials in one central place. Trust me, it'll save you hours of work time. Analytics, super critical. Look, for those out there who are inherent marketers and creatives, strategic creatives, whatever you want to call yourself or ourselves, we don't do this in the early days. We might do it a little bit by gut check, but what we like to do is build things and create things and launch creative, cool ideas and watch campaigns come to life. It's really, really fun to think of an idea, build the campaign with your team, and launch it and watch it come to life. And you can see on the surface the effects. We did this ad campaign and look at all the people who engaged. We threw a launch party and oh my God, 1,000 people came. We started a conference. We hoped that 400 came, but over 1,000 came, right? All these things. But it's so critical to have an analytics discipline in your marketing team. I cannot emphasize number 9 enough. Look, at my companies, it took us some time to get there, and it's a never-ending discipline. But you need analytics and data, and you need it on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis in order to run the business and run the department and not let it get out of hand. So for us in our company, my last company, we started to finally get some data science. We had some really, really brilliant people inside the company build us Kibana dashboards, build us Periscope dashboards. We got to log into Second Measure. We can see how we were ranking towards competitors, things like that. Marketers out there, you know what I'm talking about. When you need data, you want to look at segments, you're going to your head of engineering and asking them for a query, buying them lunch. You can't do that. You've got to have analytics live somewhere inside of marketing. Really critical. So back to something simple, a marketing calendar in Google Cal. It's kind of funny. This is a nod to the old school. Marketing calendars used to be the thing. You'd build them annually and the marketing person would go play golf or something, right? Not anymore. Marketing calendars are like living documents, and you have to be thinking about them somewhat three-dimensionally. So what do I mean by three-dimensionally? Well, there's things you're going to do, right? Okay, we acquire our customers on Facebook and Snapchat. Great. So you've got Facebook and Snapchat ads probably running 365 days a year, likely. But is your spend always the same? No. Almost every company has seasonality. In the fourth quarter when Amazon and everyone else outbids you, you likely want to lower your spend. Or do you? Those are the things you got to figure out. So even your staged channels, you got to understand them on a calendar basis. But then there's things like episodic events. So if you are a seasonal company, do holidays matter to you? Do seasons matter to you? Do times of year matter to you? You got to bake those things in. What about just other big world events? What if something crazy happens in the world and you need to react to it, like Oreo did to the blackout, if you guys remember that? I mean, a new social media platform launches, like when TikTok launches, can you take advantage of that? It's not going to be in your annual marketing calendar. You've got to have a marketing calendar that's central and everyone can see, that you're constantly nurturing. And a competitive analysis sheet, number 11. We learned this early on, right? As founders, okay, what's your competition? What's your market size? Blah, 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 blah. Well, once you start your company, you're just heads down focused on building your company, serving your customers the best you can be. Easy for this one to get away from you because you're like, I know about those guys out there, but do you really know about them? Let me show you what a real competitive analysis sheet looks like. It should be massive. You should have all your competitors in column A, and you should have tons of attributes in row 1, and you should understand where they beat you and where you beat them, what they do, what you don't do, and so on. Doesn't mean you're going to do any of those things, but you have to understand what the competitive landscape looks like so you know how you stack rank against competitors, where you fit in the market, and really what this starts to do is inform, is that a direction we want to go, or strategically, do we not want to go in this other direction that they're starting to go? One of my favorites, engineering ass. And if my good buddy Travis is out there, he's snickering right now because I buddied up to this guy like crazy. He was our head of engineering of our very large company. And look, marketing needs engineering ass all the time. It's constant. Like it's constant. And engineering is like, look, we're understaffed. I don't have enough engineers to get done what my CEO wants me to get done for the product. So, hey, marketing, no. Here's what I figured out worked really well for Travis and I. we would, as a marketing team, we would always discover there were certain things that we needed from engineering our product, right? So early on, when we had no one that bridged the gap for growth, product-wise, what we did was we would coalesce engineering asks on a regular basis and go to Travis, one at a time. Hey, we've got this list of asks, and he could prioritize and look at it, what's going to move the business forward, and what was sort of the least lift for him, that type of thing. So what I do is put together a document of your engineering asks. Don't ping engineering every second. Get your document, go to them on a regular cadence. It makes the cross-functional work a lot better. Marketing plan templates. I don't need to spend a lot of time on number 13. This is pretty simple. Marketing campaigns have plans, okay? And you have to build a plan in order to execute a plan. You can't just wing it. So grab a bunch of templates. There are so many templates out there in the world, and you're going to end up building your own. Have a little Dropbox or a folder of marketing plan templates so that when your CEO comes to you and says, oh my God, this just happened, and I got this great idea, and I talked to so-and-so, and I want you to do this. Then you're saying, awesome, I got it. I've got a template ready to build a plan that my team can execute against that, rather than just winging it and letting something go wrong. Number 14, budget trackers. So every head of marketing should always know exactly what the budget looks like, all the way down to every individual channel as best you can. If your budget for the year, I'm just going to use round numbers, is $1 million, then you need to know, what am I spending on people? What am I spending on media? What are we spending on tools? You should have a really clean budget tracker so you know everything you're doing at all times. Because here's what happens. You're going to use a tool. It's going to cost $39 a month, some SaaS tool. And then you're going to stop using it and no one's going to notice. And that's going to happen again and again. And then suddenly, like companies do, you'll get on hard times and you'll go, God, where can we cut spend? You're like, oh shit, we've been paying for X tool for 6 months and no one's ever used it. And so you want to know what's going on. Not to mention, you want to understand very, very clearly what your investment is returning to your business. And speaking of that, number 15, funnel conversion rates. This is really, really, really critical. And I like to start really simple. I've worked with companies who have very, very complicated customer journeys. And that's good, actually. If the company understands and knows every little minute step of the customer journey, hey, more power to you, very powerful. I think it's important for a marketing team to understand a simple staged funnel, something like this. So this is the funnel for core, which I'm very excited about. And it starts with awareness. And here's how you think about a funnel. Here's the way I think about a funnel. So let's take core, for an example. I don't know core. I purchased my first core. Okay? No one on this call can't understand that. Everybody understands what I just said. I don't know you, never heard of you, and I just bought it from you. Okay. So if we understand that, then there's stages in between there. Could we map out 1,000 stages? We probably could, but that would do us no good. Here's what we can map out. I don't know you to awareness. That means I know you. Okay, that's a very clear stage of a funnel. Now I know you. Now I'm following you. Think of this more of a broad term of like I'm engaging with you. So, okay, I got you to do something. Maybe I got your email. Maybe you followed me on Instagram. Some sort of engagement on a customer level. Customer meaning like profile, on a profile level. Well, I've got you on a profile level. Now I can drive you to my website, which is e-commerce. I'm direct to consumer, okay? So, I've got you standing in front of my cash register. And then now I sold you a device. You bought a core trainer and you subscribe to our premium content. Awesome. Nobody on this call does not understand what I just described. And that is something we can start to control. We certainly can measure. You've got to understand, if I buy $100,000 in awareness advertising, I better damn well know exactly what happened to my follow stage of the funnel and every stage after that as well. And if I put a lot of effort at my follow stage of the funnel, I need to know of every 1,000 followers, did 100, meaning 10% become web visitors, or did 900, 90%? I need to understand what happened, and what did I do that made that number grow? That's the key to managing a funnel. And I always like to coin this term brand love. I think that's really important. You might call it retention, LTV. There's a lot of names for it. I like to call it brand love. That to me is always the very last stage. Can you keep a customer forever? And so once you have that established, then I think it's really important for marketing to ladder up to one metric. Because if you're a good marketing department, you're measuring hundreds of things. And I mean hundreds. If you're good, you got to understand everything about your business that you're activating on and doing. But what is the one metric that we should ladder up to move our business forward, to make our company worth more, right? A northstar metric. So it can look something like this. I mean, wheels are probably turning on what is mine for my company. For us, it's premium subscribers. So we've realized, again, this goes back to Rahul's talk. We've realized that when a customer does premium subscription to Core, they have the very best experience. And they're very valuable to the company. And it's a great relationship. So that is now the North Star metric for Core. For companies I've been at before, it was the mobile app install. And there's another reason why, okay? It's not just, are these the most valuable? Because if it was just customers, then everyone's North Star metric would be customers. But why did I say on my last company it was the mobile app install, the native mobile app install specifically? Well, here's why. Because back to that funnel, we figured out that if we did 100 mobile app installs, a certain percentage would make a profile and another percentage would purchase from us for the first time, okay? Meaning the funnel conversion rate down to customer had X and Y. Well, here's what got really crazy. As we started adding zeros to 100, 1,000 app installs, 10,000, 100,000 app installs, those percentages stayed exactly the same. Exactly the same. So what does that tell you? That means you have a model to pour cash into. Any CEO out there will tell you, if your funnel conversion rates are healthy and you can just throw zeros after the number of the metric, I'll give you as much money as you want to grow the company. So establish a North Star metric. 17, weekly reports. Really, really, really important. This is a discipline that grows over time. So don't beat yourself up if you're not here yet. But you got to come in at the beginning of every week and understand and know what happened with everybody in your org. How did we do on social? How did we do with installs? How did we do with purchases? How did we do with new users? How did we do on churn? How did we do web? Whatever it is you measure, you need to understand that with a very, very comprehensive and very clear data structure of reporting every single week. And then one more thing I'll say right here. It's really important to stack those weeks linearly. If you don't see these in charts, then you don't understand how you're trending. This is a grave error heads of marketing make. They'll give these big, large Excel grid type looking reports, and it's really hard to extrapolate how are we doing. Yeah, you know what you did last week, I get it. But you can't look 6 weeks back and go, where do we trend from that? Can you pull that? Yeah, it's too much work. We all can understand linear charts and line charts or bar chart, however you want to shape it. But you need to see how you're tracking on a linear basis. So weekly reports can look like something like this. How many subscribers did we get? How many were free? How many were paid? How much reach and frequency did our advertising deliver to us this week? Why is it so much less than last week? We spent the same. You see what I mean? You got to have these things together. How many people visited to order the first time within a week versus coming back? And balance, how many web visitors became purchasers? What were the top 5 pages on our site? What were the top 5 sources? How many orders did we get per day? What efforts did we do? How many people signed up for monthly trials versus just paid outright for the whole year? What's our quarterly CAC look like? What did it look like last quarter? How are our social channels doing on an L28 basis? What's our week over week organic impressions looking like? Tell me about the marketing spend. Where did we invest and what did we get back for it? That's how you manage the business on a weekly basis. And then as you get really good at all this stuff, then you can get really high level, start to pull number 18, customer data. Customer data is it, man. This is what it's all about. We all have instincts, right? We're founders, we're entrepreneurs. We can tell you that tree is red when it's green. I mean, we can convince ourselves of anything, but the customer data is the customer data. And that's the thing you need to gather insights from. So, build a customer data stack as best you can. Start simple, but they can get really complicated. Build a data pipe, get into personalization, make sure you've got great analytics. I'm just putting up some examples of companies that do this. There's tons of others. I'm not endorsing these, nor am I paid by these. You can build location. Attribution is really important. Where are your customers coming from? What advertising is working? What is not? A/B testing. You want to have a nice growth stack that becomes your customer data platform, so you can start to segment these people, market to those people, and graduate them down your funnel. And then ultimately, number 19, this is the Shangri-La of heads of marketing. It's efficacy. So efficacy is, understanding, did we get the outcome we want? Period. Full stop, end of story. This is it. We're all marketers. We've got amazing creative ideas. We're street teaming. We're doing advertising. We're on Reddit. We're in Twitter fights. We're buying blimps. We're putting up billboards, whatever it is you're doing, right? We're measuring data. We're doing analytics. I'm doing weekly reports, great structured meetings, blah, blah, blah. Are we getting the outcome? Are we getting the results? Period. That's what you got to measure constantly. And if you're not getting the outcome you want, it's you. It's not Facebook's cost. It's not that you got kicked off of Reddit. It's you're not executing. So when you think about this, be thinking about customer insights, that automation, and your return on investment. That's investment, not your budget, your investment in the center around all of these pillars of your marketing team. And the way you want to think about that is all that data sits in the center of really three key things for heads of marketing out there. No longer are the days of, I'm the marketing department, we do marketing over here. Let us know how it goes with the app. It sits like this. You've got marketing doing two real big key pillars. There's growth and there's brand. Those really are important to think about a little bit separate, right? They live together though, but they very much intersect with product. You have to live in bed closely, snuggling up with product. Very, very important. And ultimately, the number one thing about thinking like a CMO and organizing a marketing team that gets results is to remember this one thing every day. What gets measured gets managed. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. It looks like we've still got a bunch of people on. I am going to stop sharing, but real quick, I'm Sonny Mayugba. You can reach me at sonny@hellocore.com anytime, or follow me at Sonny Mayugba. We're going to open it up to questions and hopefully some really fun discussion. And I just hit stop share. So let me get out of this craziness and get back to Zoom. And okay. I'm back.
Awesome. So this is the time where all of you founders who are in our audience have the opportunity to ask your questions live of Sonny. So the way it's going to work is that we've curated some questions already, and I know Ray is already ready to go. But if you get called on, go ahead and unmute yourself, put your video on, ask Sonny the question. And the other thing to note is that Sonny and I can both go past 2:30 too. So we're going to go through a ton of questions because I know there's a ton from the audience. So Ray, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Hi, Sonny. Thanks so much for your talk. My question for you is, as an early stage startup with very limited budget and resources, how do you determine which channels to prioritize across owned, earned, and paid? So for us specifically, we don't have a full-time marketing hire, and our budget for marketing is probably around $5K. So what would you recommend that we do in, let's say, the first 3 months to be able to test across these channels?
Yeah. What's your company? What do you do?
My company is called The Grand. It's a platform for small group coaching and conversations.
An online platform, software.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, 5 grand's a lot of money. And so you're the CEO and founder?
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, so you should be a part of this, and you can share this around other people in the company. What do I think you should do? You know, I would look at testing a few different things. I mean, for your stage, I wouldn't go with earned. You know, it's too early for PR unless you think your company is somehow going to like radically explode as soon as everyone discovers it. But so I wouldn't really go with that. I would test a little bit of owned and a little bit of paid. You can get some contractors to join you, and you guys can do a lot of the owned stuff yourself. So when you're an early stage company, you gotta, beg, borrow, and steal. Hey, my friend that has the cush job at Facebook, can you take a couple hours and test some things for me, or try some things to help us out with this? We'll buy you pizza. I would, you can experiment with some of the owned channels in terms of content creation. That's something you can do. Content creation takes time, and the results are not immediate, but it's worth a try. Community messaging or anything like that on the owned side is worth trying. It's too bad we're in COVID, because I'm a big fan of guerrilla marketing, but I think there's other ways to do guerrilla marketing. The cool thing about guerrilla marketing, and by guerrilla, I'm talking about like street teaming, event presenting, event exhibitions. What's cool about that is it doesn't cost you anything but your time as well. So you can save your cash and try to get yourself out in there. I would figure out, how can I do that in the era of COVID? There's probably some way. I mean, look, we're doing this conference online and have a lot more people than last year. So creating those strategic, creative things that you can do as stuff you own. And then I would test some paid. 5 grand's no joke. I know bidding is going up right now. It's kind of crazy, but figure out where you think your customers are, come up with some really great messaging. I mean, you need great messaging. At your stage, it probably wouldn't hurt to maybe be a little sharp elbowed, maybe a little bit, I don't know, controversial or eye-catching, and test some paid ads. And I'm not saying like boost a Facebook post, but find somebody who does this for a living, ask them if they would take you on as a beta client. Let them know that you pay 10 cents on the dollar now, but you are going to be a $100 million company. And if they help you now, then you're going to make sure they get rewarded in the future, and do some tests. And the sort of the big picture here for a small budget is take little bits of money and do tests, and then measure efficacy. So if you did, you said it's online coaching, right?
Yeah.
Online coaching. So let's say you tried some LinkedIn advertising, right? Then, spend, I don't know, $500. You can be really efficient with $500, and then see what happens. If nothing happens, you got to stop and say, is it my messaging? Are my ads boring? Are we targeting correctly? Are we executing properly? Is LinkedIn the wrong channel? See how those are three totally different things? Test those things at $100, $200. And if you keep doing that, you'll find some juicy oil well that you can start to drill.
That's great. Can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
Is there a minimum amount of time or a minimum amount of spend in order to conduct a proper test?
Yeah, that is a good follow-up. No such thing. We're in the wild, wild west of the media and the internet, so no. You are constrained by your resources. That's it. So you only have so many resources. So you should start with your goal in mind. That's the key. If your goal is, I want to get 10 new coaches, and I want to get 10 new coaches with $5,000. Well, if you spend $1,000 and have no coaches, you've spent 20%. Let's say you spend $1,000 and get one coach. You spent 20% of your budget and you've got 10% of your goal. You got to decide. You got to do a little gut check. Is this worth it? Doesn't look like we're going to track to our goal. We're going to spend all of our budget and get 50% of our goal. Maybe that's worth it. So you got to kind of gut check and test those things out.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Next question.
Hey, it's so great to see you. So I know you've been part of our community for a long time, so it's great to see you on Zoom. Next question comes from Your Living OS. So that's kind of what we have with the name. So if you're still with us, go ahead and unmute and turn on your video if you can. Okay, I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I just unmuted myself. Okay, thank you. So hi, Sonny, and thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. So I'm currently have around a 7-person marketing team, and they are split. One is in, I'll say 2 is in China, 5 is in US. So we market to, I would say bilingual, but mostly like one in the Mandarin audience and one in the English speaking audience. So how would you ensure that the voice and the messaging is consistent, given that they speak different languages, but we want to make sure that the brand is consistent, like the messaging, central messaging we want to share it with our customer?
Very intriguing. Here's my gut check on that to you is I wouldn't too much, to be honest with you. I think the cultural styles in Asia are different than the cultural styles, certainly language, than North America. Now, let's dig a little deeper into your question. So you're saying, how do we make sure that the brand is unified and consistent across China and America? I think you can do that with your basics, right? That's your design, that's your, maybe your taglines, logos, just, photos, whatever it is that kind of like communicates your brand without text. But honestly, I think it's kind of cool to have a little bit of localization. And if the marketing team in China has a certain voice, then let them kind of run with that voice if it's working, because that voice might work differently than the voice in America. Now, every brand has a voice, right? Your voice could be, I'm a kind, holistic company. The voice could be, I'm crazy, action sports, F you, I'm going nuts, puking on your shoes. We all have different voices, right? So let the voice of the brand, make sure both marketing teams understand the brand essence and the voice of the company, meaning the position of the company. Are you super serious and formal? Are you very playful and fun? Are you academic? Are you silly? What is that brand position and voice? If both teams understand that, then let them run with some localization.
Got it. So it's almost like having a style guide for the culture, and then we could let them take it in their own localized way.
That's right. That's right. So we're a software platform. We're very academic and very serious. Okay, that's our brand. That's our voice, and our voice is that of a college professor. Okay, now we understand it. So the people in China can interpret that brand position in Chinese culture, and then interpret that position in American culture, which is an advantage because we've all seen this, right? We've seen overseas companies who interpret voice from an overseas culture into North America and it doesn't translate. So let the brand position of the company remain constant. Let the voice be localized.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
We're going to move to the next question. Carolyn Pierre, also I think from Sacramento. So
yeah,
I know this name. I know this name.
Good to see you, Sonny. So my question is, you mentioned, I think a little ways back, that you should be paying attention to what your competitors' channels, how well your competitors' channels are working. So my question is, how do you tell what channels your competitor is using that are working?
Sure. Okay. So quick clarification, and then I'll answer that as well.
Okay.
So what I was talking about in my 19 steps is you should have a competitive study doc that really outlines everything about your competitors' products. So in that example I showed, that was when I was in the food delivery business. And there's lots of food delivery companies. So we had DoorDash, Grubhub, Caviar, Postmate. We had them all stacked up, and it was like, this one has group ordering, this one doesn't. Oh, we do. This one has push notifications. Oh, this one has referral. We don't. So
okay.
That was really more around so you
product
know
market.
What the competitor's doing with their product and service, right?
Okay.
That's what I meant by that. So you should always know how, just like if you had a clothing store and next door I had a clothing store, you'd want to know, does Sonny have rap music on or rock music on, or does he do dim lights or bright lights? That's the product and service, right? The customer experience. That's what I meant by that. So there's that. But you bring up an interesting question, which is you're watching. Yeah, you have to watch. I mean, how do you know if they're doing well? Well, ultimately, you totally don't. Although it's my understanding that there are some pretty cool software platforms where you can understand what people are paying for customers, or like, you know, how much they're bidding and paying on, say, keywords and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, how well it's working for them in their business, I mean, you'd have to be inside to really know that. So, you know, but you do want to be aware of where your competitors are, because one of my favorite things was to be where my competitors weren't. So it was really fun to be one of the first on certain platforms, and then you find users for really cheap, because those platforms are like, wow, somebody in your vertical is not marketing in your vertical, in your geo, then you get users cheap, and you do that as long as you can, because guess what? They all come. They all will come, because we're all watching each other, right? Awesome. Good seeing you, Carolyn. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sonny.
All right, next.
All right, so the next one, let's see, we're gonna queue up Serge. So Serge, if you're still with us, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Yes, I am. Hey, Sonny, how's it going?
Hey, what's happening?
Thanks for the presentation. It's really insightful and helpful. And so my question is, you know, at what point in the life of the startup should it hire a CMO?
Yeah, it's just a title. That's the reason I call this talk, or I should say call to this talk, Think Like a CMO, is because it's a serious title. You know, a chief marketing officer means you are an executive of the company who is responsible and accountable for driving revenue, okay, growth and revenue at an executive level. So when should a company hire that? Well, look, it's never too early. You know, you've got to make sure you got the right person to fill the shoes. But you know, you need somebody to fill that function no matter what. Typically, it's the founder CEO who does that in the beginning, right? The founder CEO is stewarding revenue. They're building the product, assembling the team, stewarding revenue. You know, I wish I could tell you it was when you have $50,000 in revenue a month or whatever the case may be, but it's really more one of those things. You'll know it when you know it. You know, the thing to remember about a CMO is it's not just heading up the marketing division. You're also serving on the executive team. I mean, you're in the C-suite, so it means you have a very big responsibility to, you know, guide the executive leadership of the company toward its strategic goal. So that's another job on top of running marketing. So
Yeah.
That's the way to think about it. When you find that person that you say, okay, this is somebody I can partner with at my executive meetings weekly, who's going to drive us forward, and I can count on them to run marketing to drive revenue, you know, she's hired or he's hired or whatever the case may be.
And a quick follow-up to that is, you know, what are the qualities, you know, to look for in that person?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. Well, one is, you know, an ability to effectively communicate. That's very powerful and often understated and overlooked. So someone who can communicate both with the executive team, with the company, and just globally, you know, to represent the product. It's also got to be another quality. It needs to be somebody who has had experience in driving growth, who's really, you know, not just read about it, but actually gotten their hands dirty and done it,
For sure.
whether for themselves or somewhere else. And then someone who I think has a mind that, you know, is a little bit, to use a cliche, a little bit outside the box. I think you're looking for someone who can think a little differently, can take some risks, you know, can see ahead and have some vision, you know, and of course, who can manage a productive and effective team, and understands. They don't have to be able to do all of the disciplines, but understands the disciplines. And then a really big dose of humility is critical, because look, We're marketing folks. We're really full of ourselves. We think we're awesome. But you got to have a sense of humility, because the most powerful thing a CMO can do is hire the sickest, most effective, most amazing people along with them, period. Because you can't do it yourself. You got to have a team that makes you look great. That's it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sonny.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
So by the way, we're approaching 2:30. And if you have to go, feel free to leave at any time, but Sonny and I will stay until 2:45
Cool.
to take more questions from everybody before we wrap up. So Bruce is on deck next. So Bruce, go ahead and ask your question.
What's up, Bruce?
Hi, Sonny. I'm a co-founder and chief creative officer, again, made up title. So I wear lots of hats.
Yep.
So we have a publishing company, essentially a media company, but we are getting ready to launch a product based on a tool that we created for ourselves, and that's pretty exciting. But going off this idea of wearing many hats and kind of doing lots of things, do you have any tips or tactical suggestions on maintaining a dashboard with all these things in the funnel kind of coming at it? Currently, I feel like I spend a lot of time going down and tracking it, and that's time that obviously can be spent on a lot of other stuff. So yeah, any suggestions there?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite questions right there. Yeah, so it goes on one of the I don't remember what it was, number 12 or whatever it was. So to get right to the heart of your question, having engineering build a dashboard that pipes in all your other dashboards. Because I know what you're doing. It's what I did for years. You're opening on Sunday night or Monday morning, you're opening up 12 browser windows, and you're logging in and going in, and you're checking Business Manager and this and that, and you're doing from this date to that date and all the things it takes to measure metrics, right? Then you're inputting and plotting it into probably Excel or Google Docs. Then you're building your charts. That was my life for so long. So eventually what happened was it was engineering. You know, these days it takes engineering chops to build dashboards that map to data, because data is only good if it's real good, if it's true data, right? So, and you know, sometimes dashboards screw it. Oh, I forgot this. Oh, I'm leaving that out or whatever. So if you can get engineering to build those for you, and you know, like I said, my engineering team used Kibana and Periscope, and they were awesome tools for us in marketing. Talk to your engineering folks, or if you're an engineer, just kind of go out there and look, or go to engineering forums and ask on the marketing and growth forums. You know, grow.co is a great resource for this question. Go to that community at grow.co, ask the folks there, what dashboards are you using? And then what I would do too is I would do it, the other half of the answer, do it slowly. Because right now, even though you're logging into 12 browser windows each Sunday night, the data is pure and your direct source data, and it's real. So what happens, I've found, is sometimes these dashboards are wrong, and it drives me crazy, and then it takes 6 months to fix or whatever. So take it slowly, take it one at a time. Make sure, you know, what you're pulling into dashboards is stuff that either you don't have access to, or stuff that you know is getting pure data, good mapping, and then take them one at a time. So that's how I'd approach it.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next question comes to us from Alifia. So Alifia, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Alifia.
Hi there, and thank you. That was absolutely wonderful. So thank you for sharing all that you did. I wanted to ask you, so and I've worked in this area before, with limited resources, how do you manage, interpret the customer journeys, all the ones that there are, to improve the customer experience?
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that never stops, even when you have lots of resources. With limited resources, I believe you can manage that with no cost at all. So you shouldn't be spending any money resources on it. It should just be your time. And here's how I'd manage it. The first is have a friend become a customer themselves. And what by friend, I mean someone you kind of don't know. So, you know, I might ask my buddy's nephew to purchase Core, and then tell me what they went through to get it, right? That's one. So you know what strangers are really doing, because we get so inside of our companies, we start to love our companies, and we think
Exactly.
the customer journey is like this, and you have to realize what it's like for real people out there. That's one. The next is to get with your team and really map it out yourselves and go, well, we believe, and try to simplify it. If you make customer journeys too complicated, it's too hard to affect it. Like I said, if you have this like 80 stage touch point, 80 touch points where customers are coming in to finally become a customer, how on earth do you deal with that with $10,000 a month or $5,000? It's too much. So that's why I like to simplify things. Is awareness. Okay, we know lots of things are in awareness. We know that. But we understand that as a stage in the journey. They go from not knowing who we are to knowing who we are. Well, which parts of that journey do we want our customers to go down, right? So mapping out those stages in a very simplistic fashion, to me, has always been really powerful. And then the last thing I would say is, once you do have customers, ask them. People don't do this enough. And Ha and I will sing the song till the day is long. Ask your customers, send them a NPS, but ask a question. Hey, we used to do this all the time. How did you hear about us? And it was totally surprising. Even when we were nice and big, we always thought it was digital, because our digital game was on point, banging, right? We were like, oh, digital's number one. Jeff, you're the man. Turns out we were wrong. It wasn't number one. You know what it was? People were discovering us through our B2B customers, through our restaurant partners. Yeah, that was number one. We were wrong because we couldn't see that. You got to see it through the customer's eyes. That can't be emphasized enough. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
All right, so we have Mike queued up next. Mike, go ahead.
Mike.
Hey, Sonny.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. So the question I had was, I created a pretty good inbound funnel where it's driven all of our sales thus far. So about 2-3 years of sales. So it's been growing really well. But as we think about sort of like next steps and how do we elevate our business, we think that there's two paths that we need to go down. One being some rebranding work and UX work that we need to implement, as well as optimizing our sales funnel, where I think we're a great execution company, terrible from a digital marketing perspective. So as I think about those two key things, I think it's two different resources. But I wanted to get your thoughts around how do you sort of think about allocating resources at this point, and which part do we want to focus in on?
Yeah, love this. My gut quick reaction would be UX, because it sounds like if you've got 2-3 years of sales, that means your flywheel's spinning, something's working. You've acknowledged, look, your digital game is not strong. Okay. But you know, UX, that's the closest to the customer. So you can pour people into your funnel and get customers all day long. It sounds like you can do that. You can keep pouring fuel on that fire. But if it's if the user experience and the customer experience could be better, then look, that's what it's all about ultimately, right? That's going to create better retention, higher LTV, happier customers, probably more referrals too. And that's where I would focus at this point for you. I'll tell you something, keying off that last question. One of the questions we used to always ask, and I still do ask at my companies, is when we send out surveys, we ask, how would you improve what's the name of your company, Mike? Fisher? Oh, sorry, you're unmuted. That's all right. All right, let's say it's called Mike. Let's call it, oh, go ahead. It's good.
Furniture.
Furniture. Okay, cool. Furniture. So ask your customers, if you got a couple years of customers, ask them this question with a radical dialogue box. How would you improve your experience on furniture? And you will be very surprised. And the wording is very critical, the way you ask that. How would you improve the furniture experience, or how would you improve, keyword improve, your experience on furniture? And let people answer radically. And what you'll start to see are interesting themes. Now, if they all tell you, man, I wish your digital game was better, then I'm wrong. But what's going to happen is they're going to tell you something about the user experience, and it's going to overwhelmingly be one thing. And that's where I would focus, improve that. And it's like walking, right? I would focus on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Once you feel like you've got that in hand, UX can always be better, but you got that, then move resources over to the digital game, move that forward down the field a little bit, then back to you, go back and forth. So gut check, I'd go UX
Thank
first.
you.
You're welcome. Cool. Right on.
All right, we're going to go to Derek next. Derek. I know you've
Derek.
been waiting patiently.
Hi, my name is Derek and I use they, them pronouns. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Queerly Health, which is a marketplace on one side of vetted LGBTQ plus affirming health and wellness practitioners, and then on the other side, those looking for those practitioners. So I was wondering if you have any advice on marketing to both user bases at the same time on this dual-sided marketplace.
All right. Are you live? Is your product live yet, Derek? Oh, we muted him. That's okay. Yeah, just say thumbs up or thumbs down. Is your product live in market? It's either up or down.
On the practitioner side, yes. Not the
Okay, perfect. So you're asking how to market to both sides. So the first thing I think you need to do is decide, are you supply side focused? I would call that your practitioners. Or are you demand side focused? Strategically as a company. So, and that should shape your decisions that you make across the company as a whole. So what I mean by that is, do you care about, I'm going to get tons and tons of patients, so that way all the practitioners have to follow, and I'm going to build my product to focus on patients? Or am I going to make the most beautiful, amazing experience for practitioners? That way it attracts patients like moths to a light. So first, decide on that. Because, as we've learned with marketplaces, some of the greatest, way greater people than me have espoused, you got to commit to one. And we experienced that too. We were supply side focused, by the way. We went supply side versus say a DoorDash, which kind of started more demand side. So figure that out first. But then you do need to market to both. So how would you do it? Well, here's some sort of quick advice. Building a marketplace is just hard and expensive. This is just where I come from. Building the supply to me is where the value is. So I would kind of start there and think about what tools can I put together and what value equations can I put together that attract practitioners to want to join my program. So for you, that would be marketing such as, what's your take rate? What do they get for joining? What's the onboarding process like for a practitioner? What stuff do you give them? Here's another idea. Like, say they join your marketplace. Do you give them like pamphlets or online badges or cool tools so they can market themselves to new people? Do they get to join a bigger community? I'm guessing here, but come up with a really good program that's essentially B2B that helps them go B to B to C. Okay, so from you to them to more customers. And then as far as the other side, that's just consumer marketing, and we could go on that for super, super long. So, my advice to you is think about, where do those patients live? For patients who are interested in your marketplace, where do they live? And by where, I mean like on what communities, different places in the physical world. And then what is my most efficient way to reach those people with a great message? I mean, that's the key, is like a really clear, simple, good message. Because again, consumer marketing is going to be expensive, but if you can build a supply of 100 practitioners, then you get 1,000 patients, you got something, you're growing, right? Thank you for the question. And good luck too.
We might only have time for one or two more questions. So
Sure.
Erin has a question. I'm going to have Erin ask a question, but also I want it more generalized. So she's going to ask this question, but I think it's, where should different functions live within an org? So
Okay.
Erin, go ahead and ask your question.
Let's let Erin ask it.
Yeah.
Hi there. I've seen some divisions between some UX UI teams and marketing, and I was wondering if you've seen that what might be causing it, and how to fix it.
Right. And then Ha, you added like where should divisions live in an org? Right.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And I was just going to add, especially when some phrases around the UX team are like designing a product so good that it markets itself.
Oh, I got you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, let me start with that. I mean, you're tapping into a culture of a company. I mean, to be honest, just straight up. If the company is separating, if they're putting UI UX into product and engineering, product and engineering, and separating that discipline from marketing, which is, you know, pretty standard. It's, you know, that works. The question is, can UI and UX and brand marketing and growth marketing work functionally together and like each other and work together? So that's cultural, and that's just people dynamics, and you know how that goes. It's just we're people. We got to make sure that works, and it's got to start from the top down. And cultures are set in companies and all those types of things. But yeah, when you have, excuse me, when you have UX designers saying, "Look, we're designing our product. It's so badass it markets itself."
Get you.
It's just not true. Yeah, there are interesting products that have had very little to no marketing in the beginning, but very, very few. And they actually have had some marketing. Yeah, UI and UX should market the product. That's the point of beautiful user interfaces and the point of a beautiful user experience is that I use it, I'm so excited by it, and of course the value that the product gives me, that I tell my friends about it. That's the part that UI and UX to me really affects. Marketing's job is to bring the awareness before they ever get to that UI UX. And I think that's the clear differentiator. And I think when UI UX folks understand that, they're like, oh, you're right. We have, let's just say your company has 100 million users. We have 100 million users, we're doing good. Dude, there's 8 billion people on Earth, or 7, or whatever the number is. Like, there's a lot of billion people on Earth. That means we can always get more. So marketing's job is to take money and invest it to bring awareness to those people so they give it a try. UI UX's job is to take the customer, once marketing's brought them in the door, down a really awesome journey so they stick to the product and stay and love it. That's the marketing part that UI UX does. It's not to go attract new people who don't care about your product because they don't know you.